9 out of 10 people, let's just call it what it is, leave because of the relationship they have with their manager, supervisor, or director. I mean, that is staggering.
Welcome to the Mindcoach system audio experience. Learn this simple and effective process to unlock your peak potential in life and business.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Dave Lowshelter and Adam Kripke here. We're super excited. We have our radio show coming up. I wanted to give you a little bit of a sneak peek into what we were talking about, because we had a limited amount of time actually to go into the stuff that we wanted to go into. So we'll give you a little bit of a high level discussion here on what we were talking about when it comes to developing out leadership and high level managers, leaders, supervisors in your organization. So Dave, welcome.
Hey man, what's going on?
Not much, dude. Super excited. I'm pumped.
Oh man, yeah, it's gonna be a good one. Yeah, it's gonna be a good one. It was fun. It was fun. Hanging out with Kevin Trout and doing the show. I mean, being in the studio and everything. It was kind of like the whole vibe was there. I thought that was kind of cool. So I can't wait to share the information with everybody else. So welcome, guys. Hey, thanks for tuning in. And we're going to talk about, like Adam said, we're going to talk about very specific things that we find that leaders need, and some other issues involved. So we really want to kind of give you the best content we possibly can.
Yeah, so you'll hear it on the radio show. Dave brought this up, but this is a crazy statistic that 87% of people leave their job because of their supervisor or their manager or the people that are just above them. So, I mean, that's crazy to think about.
Dude, think just 87%. It's hard to imagine that 8 out of 10 people leave, and not only that,
closer to 9. Yeah, right.
Well, yeah, 87% is almost 9, right? It's like, let's round up. But it's like 9 out of 10 people, let's just call it what it is, leave because of the relationship they have with their manager, supervisor, or director. I mean, that is staggering. Not to mention that people are leaving jobs anyway for other reasons. So it's like keeping people's really hard, and just, insult to injury. Then you have the, working with someone in a poor way, or not inappropriate, but in a way that isn't helpful, and boof, they're gone.
It's funny, man. I had a close friend of mine who's building a large company right now, has been onboarding a ton of employees, has been kind of struggling with this exact topic. And we were hanging out a couple of months ago, and he goes, I see you're doing all this leadership stuff. If you could sum up what you do or what leadership means in one word, what would that be? I thought about it for a bit, because no one's ever asked me that question. But it came to me, and it was communication. Communication.
Yeah.
And being able to communicate with different people in different situations, different temperaments, different stress levels, people that are handling different types of projects. Like, you have to be versatile. You have to be able to communicate to someone you don't get along with just as well with somebody you do get along with. You have to be able to adapt. And during our radio show, we didn't get into this, but there are 5 critical skills that we teach, and 5 critical skills that we think are the most important things to make managers, supervisors, anybody in a leadership role extremely effective. Number 1 is how to hire properly, and picking the right person for the job. Number 2 is understanding personality styles.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3 is understanding leadership styles. So talking about that adaptability. How do you actually adapt your leadership style for the situation and the person that you're dealing with? Number 4 is mindset. So a lot of people poo-poo mindset, and they're like, oh, it's too woo-woo. There's nothing woo-woo about it. It is 100% probably the most important component of leadership. And there is a science to it. There's definitely a lot of strategy and tactics that you can implement. And lastly, it's how to build insane amount of rapport with your employees. Because most of the time when you go to your job, you're expendable. They can fill your job with somebody else tomorrow. And what makes you want to stay? Who needs to be above you, and what does that person need to do to keep you there, right? How do you want them to interact with you, right? And how to build that insane amount of rapport and caring and like this win-win environment where they're there for you, but you're also there for them.
Well, it's just, you know what? That's a good point, because it's just like any relationship, right? What needs aren't being filled? We all have different needs, and they the core word in relationship is to relate. So if you can't relate to somebody, then you can't have a relationship with them. And so part of that is knowing like what their needs are, and then knowing what your supervisor's needs are in terms of business, strategy, task, all those things need to be filled. And you work really hard, but then it goes both ways. If it's just a one-way street, then the needs aren't being met, and then you don't feel valued. And if you don't feel valued, then you feel like you need to go somewhere else. And that's what happens to all relationships. They just go somewhere else. You find somebody else who can fill those needs if you can. So, it's really, if you really look at it, that makes all the sense in the world. So if you go back to hiring, it's like the hiring process is a screening process, but it's also a needs assessment process, which nobody talks about. You have to find out what needs need to be filled for that person to bring them on. Do they fit on the team? Okay, great. Well, what are their personal needs? What are their team needs? And then how do you match it up with the company needs and the company strategy? It's all linked. It's all linked.
Yeah, it was crazy. We talked about the one company we were working with, where they hired on close to 30 people, and 99% of them left within 1 year.
Yeah.
And management had they thought it was HR's problem. They're like, you're not hiring the right people. Unbelievable. Like, and to be able to uncover blind spots is critical in leadership. A lot of organizations don't know what they don't know. And it takes a third party to come in and be able to assess, like, here's where we perceive the breakdowns to be. You agree with that? Here's the symptoms. Here's what's coming up to the surface in your employees' happiness, employees' lack of productivity, and your employees' turnover, all that stuff. Right? Here's the core problems that we're seeing, and then you work backwards to, here's where we need to focus, right? And almost 10 out of 10 times, 9 out of 10 times, comes back to leadership.
Yeah, it's funny. Well, we were talking on the radio show. We were mentioning about there's like a system of leadership, and like even Kevin even said, "Oh, he goes, you guys have like a system," and like everybody talks about different things in leadership, but there's no system of approach that you can actually latch on to and follow. And I think, for us, not to beat our chest or anything, but it's like, I think it really does work. If you can, it's teachable. You can teach somebody A, B, C, and D, and then fill in the blanks with, the actual content. And then it is an art and a science, but there is a science to it, and you got to follow that scientific method, and then use your own personality and your experience and your intelligence and your acumen and your adroit ability to be able to motivate people and things like that to make it all work. That's why it's not easy. That's why not everybody can do it. And that's why most people screw it up. So I think giving that ABC and finding, what really is the pain point and what really makes the most sense, and kind of help people, guide them through that.
It's funny, Dave, a lot of times when we see people that we're working with and they're attempting to be this leader, right? And there's a whole, when people think of leadership and being a leader, there's this whole notion that you need to be, up in front of people, there's a cape on your back, you're indestructible, you're pointing this way and pointing that way and leading people into the fire, right? It's like, that's not exactly the case. Yeah, I mean, there's 4 primary leadership styles, or personality types, and you can be a leader in each one of those, but it's got to match your personality style. And whether you're introverted or extroverted, right, or task oriented or people oriented, you can find a leadership style that works with your natural abilities, so that you can learn how to influence, motivate, lead people in a way that feels natural, and you're not trying to be someone that you're not. And
well, the thing
people try to, venture out into this like different personality. It doesn't really match up. You need to be adaptable, right? But you need to know who you are and what matches up with your personality type.
No, 100%. I mean, what you're saying is like knowing yourself, right? Knowing your own, personality tendencies and how you deal with stress and things like that. But then also knowing the other person's personality style. You got to do unto others as they want to be done onto. So it's like you have to know, and that's where you become very influential, because once you learn, what motivates them and how they respond, and then yourself, that whole mindfulness thing. People are, oh, mindfulness, that's all, weird stuff. No, I mean, you got to understand where you're coming from. I mean, I tell you, understand when I was under stress as a manager years ago, I tell the story a lot. I became very sarcastic, right? Because I'm a high I, I'm a high D. So anytime a high I gets under stress, they become like sarcastic. And I didn't know I didn't know how much stress I was under, number one. Number two, I was just dealing with my stress the way I knew, and that was in a sarcastic way, which apparently made me feel a little better. But then the problem is no one knew how to take me. And I'm the leader. And they're like, well, I don't understand if you're serious or not. And I'm like, what do you mean? Until I really learned about me and said, wait, when I'm under stress, I get really sarcastic, and people don't know. And if you're a supervisor, manager, director, if you say something, you need to understand that other people take that to like multiply that times 10, because it's like, and they're every little inflection, every little word they analyze, because everyone's scared, right? Yeah. So what did he mean by that? What does she mean by that? Type of thing. So you really got to be clear.
Everybody they're seeing that interaction through their own lens. They're not seeing it through your lens. They're seeing it through their own life experiences, and then they put their own spin on it to say, okay, what does this mean? And you have to be able to recognize that, first of all, that lens is there, because if you're not aware that it's there, you're going to keep talking and leading the way that you lead and thinking that you're communicating perfectly to everybody that's out there and everyone you're talking to. But you're getting, like you said, 20 different sets of ears, listening to that, and you're getting 20 different meetings.
Good point.
What type of personality type they are, how they're going to take that information. Was it enough information? Was it not enough information? Do they need to hear it again? What is, everybody's different, right? So it's understanding that stuff that makes this stuff so critical. I mean, I see it all the time. I mean, you've been through it, I've been through it, where we're with supervisors or managers or partners that are, different than us. And we have to navigate that and be able to figure out, okay, how can we work with this person to really get the outcome we all want, right? And if you're just in your own ship and trying to go to your own destination, it's not going to work. It's not
I mean, it's like
bring the team with you,
right? I mean, it's like Stephen Covey in his book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. seek first to understand, then to be understood, right? I mean, it's a basic habit, and once you can practice that habit, and reflexively, it's a lot easier, to make that connection and get that buy-in and get and produce motivation, and just pure happiness. I mean, just pure, like, people feel good when they do a good job, and most people want to hear they do a good job, so it's like, this isn't that hard if you think about it. And there is, some basic stuff here, but it does get complex, and that's why we have, personality assessments, to really go deep into it, and then to really utilize those assessments to see, how a team actually interacts and works together. So
Yeah, I think to your point, I mean, when you boil all this leadership stuff down to its lowest common denominator, it's really happiness. Happiness, less stress on yourself if you're a manager, less stress on you if you're an employee, more, more meaning and passion for your work. You're feeling appreciated. All of those things add up to being proud to go to work, being happy to go to work, being happy and wanting to strive for something for someone else. Honestly, this is most of the time it's somebody else's company and they have a vision. Well, that's not really your vision, but now it is, because you're part of that company. Yeah. So how do you get to a point where you actually care about that vision and you collectively want to achieve together? It's like, you want to be happy about that. You want to be proud about that. And it comes down to, building that rapport, knowing how to communicate with each other. And all of this, we talk about productivity, which is profitability, money, all those things too, which kind of comes down to your lifestyle, which you can boil down to happiness again, right? It's like, if you're making more money and you're having a great time, like, you have more options.
Yeah.
Money isn't everything, but when you have more of it, life can sometimes be easier. You can buy a lot of problems and make a lot of problems go away. But yeah, it's happiness, right? So I guess what I'll say, and Dave, feel free to chime in, but anybody that's listening to this or that listens to the radio show, and you might have a medium to large company, and you're looking for some coaching, some people to come in and work with your team, whether on a one-day workshop or a multi-month, training program, we'd be happy to talk with you and, see what your needs are, see what you're looking to achieve. And if we can achieve them, we'd love to chat with you and just set up a kind of a quick phone call to go through it.
Yeah. And if you need information, just, on the comments below, if you have any comments or suggestions or anything like that, just leave those below the video, and we have our contact information in there as well. So need to give us a call or email us or contact us by social media or whatever. You can do that.
Yeah, we're available. So anyway, hope this was helpful. Let us know what your thoughts are on the radio show, and we look forward to connecting with everybody here soon. Dave, take it easy, man.
All right.
Talk to you in a bit.
Yeah. Later.
Yeah.